Help us keep it going. Every listen, like, and subscription to The Unfolding presented by the Loveland Foundation helps us do more than just share powerful stories. It helps fund real therapy sessions for Black women and girls across the country. When you subscribe, you're not just supporting a podcast, you're helping us show funders that this work matters, that this community is growing, and mental health support deserves real investment. So if you've been moved by what you've heard, take a second, like, subscribe, and share. It is a small gesture that can make a generational impact. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Unfolding. We're going to take a deep breath real quick because I am just so excited. I am here with Stacey Abrams. Oh, my goodness. Hi, thank you so much for being here. I am just deeply grateful to be in this space with you. So many people know you as a champion for democracy, a political leader, voting rights activist, which we need, and just someone who's just constantly navigating high-stakes decisions and public pressure. But here on The Unfolding, we're kind of just always interested in people beyond what the world asks of them, what they expect of them. Because the truth is, like, so many of us are navigating systems and moments of just feeling so overwhelmed, so much pressure to, like, know how to hold everything together, know when to show up, just be the person who just solves everything, especially Black women in this country. In this history, we've always been the ones like who have the answers and have to be resilient and have to be strong, have to do the fight over and over again. And it can be exhausting. It can be a bit taxing, especially mentally. And so in this space, I just want to just like hold the part of you that is creative and imagines and restores and like just examine, pick your brain how you hold both deep, impactful work and also do this imagined space through your writing, your storytelling, and just like rooting yourself in like joy. And like when I think of you, I think of like possibility, I think of hope. I also think of like fighting, and I think of like how does she hold both? And that's literally just I'm like, how? Tell me, please. So that's really why we're here today. So we're just going to be speaking on to that. So hi, Stacey.
Hi,
Welcome.
Rachel. How are you?
I'm doing my best.
Look, that is a high achievement. I often go with I'm awake. So see?
We take what we can because I was like, oh, I'm doing great, I'm doing good, and I'm like, Rachel, let's be honest, like we're here and we're trying.
Set the bar so you can leap over it.
Oh, yes, like a little horse, like just jumping.
Exactly.
But yes, thank you for being here. So you're an author. You write nonfiction, you write children's books, you write thrillers, you write romance novels. I was so surprised that you had a pen name, Selena Montgomery. Love that, by the way. But how do you like have creative space and like what does it offer you in terms of your joy and your mental wellness?
So I've always loved writing. I started writing when I was really young. I learned to read young because my older sister got tired of reading to me, so she just taught me to read. So,
Very older sister poet.
It's like, I'm not reading this again. Learn to do it yourself. But because of that, I love to read, and my mom was a librarian. So I had access to all the books in all the land, or at least it felt that way to me. And then there was our public library.
Mm-hmm.
But I also learned early on that, if you told a story, you could be accused of lying. If you wrote it down, you were an author.
Ooh.
And that sounded very fancy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried my first novel when I was 12. It's called A Diary of Angst, which is appropriate for the show.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also
what was happening at 12?
There you go. Well, you have to read the book. No,
Yes.
no, I mean, it was, you're going through that transitional space where you're not old enough to be in charge, but you're not young enough to be coddled. And you know that you feel like you're the center of the maelstrom that is the world.
Mm.
Many of us get out of it, but this moment keeps pulling us back in. And I find that the older we get, we have more sophisticated versions of that. And so for me, storytelling, writing is about how I explore the world I'm a part of, how I let myself dream about what's possible, let myself work through what's hurting me and making me angry, and how I solve problems. Because ultimately for me, storytelling is how you shape the world you want. But I want to meet people where they are and bring them along with me. So as you mentioned, I write across genre because ultimately you got to give people something that feels comfortable so they start, and then give them meaning so they finish.
No, it's kind of like this, like very like or find a way of meeting people where they're at. And like, you're like, I
Exactly.
give you all the options.
I do.
You can choose.
I
No,
haven't done anime yet, but we'll figure
I
that out.
mean, I see a world where that happens, I will be the first one to grab it. Um, how has, like, writing been a tool? You expressed, like, it started off with the diary of angst, but, like, this tool for, like, processing your emotions and, like, especially given, like, the intensity of, like, your public work and being in the eye. So how do you use that to, like, get through what you're feeling?
So my first published novel was called Rules of Engagement,
Mm,
and it was based on my ex-boyfriend's dissertation. He's
okay.
a chemical physicist,
Mhm.
and it was a bad breakup. But we became friends sort of on the other side. We were dated in high school, broke up freshman year of college,
Oh,
managed to reconnect and be kind of friends. I was
okay.
like the only person who read his dissertation. And when I read it, it sparked in me a conversation I wanted to have about environmental justice,
Mhm.
but it was also about how bad I was at dating. And,
Relatable.
uh, and so in the book, my main character may or may not have killed her ex-boyfriend's best friend. So yeah. So it was,
I love that it sparked from a dissertation.
well, and so to your point about, sort of complicated emotion,
Mhm.
I got to talk about love and relationships and how hard they are.
Yeah.
I got to talk about policy issues that matter to me, environmental justice, and what was happening to global South nations who were being told, you got to, deal with colonization on your own. We now need you to catch up with the rest of us.
Mm.
But I also put my ex-boyfriend in prison in the book because
As you should.
I was still mad.
Yeah.
Um, so I used his idea and put him in prison. But I gave him credit at the end.
Yeah.
But for me, the story was about an opportunity to give my brain and my heart
Mm.
and my soul places to be. And that's, I think, when fiction is the most fun. And irrespective of genre, I try to use writing as a way to test myself, to test my ideas, but also to give myself a bit of respite because sometimes we hold ourselves so accountable for everything. When you can create a fictionalized version of some aspect of yourself, you also give yourself a chance to get some distance and to get some clarity and maybe realize perhaps you shouldn't have killed his best friend. Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
live and you learn. Uh, no, I think that's so like such a because everyone always says like, "Oh, you should journal," and I just haven't been able to get into it, and I've always struggled with like, "Dear diary, this is how I feel today." But in the way that like you're describing it, it feels like a true process of just like releasing and also getting a little creative with how you can problem solve or like even just like I think sometimes there's this expectation, like, we have to do the right thing and, like, find the perfect response to something, and even, like, thinking about what's the right way, I get, like, overwhelmed with, like, decision fatigue. I'm like, "How do I do this? How do I do this?" And it's just, like, sometimes I just wanted, like, the freedom to make a mistake and, like or not make a mistake, but just, like, do something just because I want to, and, like, hearing about your process, like, through writing, I feel like that's, like, a really good way you've been doing that, at least for yourself. Like, that's what I'm getting. Like, if I go through a breakup, I'm like, "The thoughts stay in here, and I need to get them out."
Like two of my favorite characters that I've written. One is Mara. She was a grifter, and the other is Finn. Finn was a gambler, and both of them, they were parts of my psyche. Not that I'm a grifter or gambler, but the parts that get to be, they don't have to be responsible all the time. The ones that have to think of creative solutions because their personal stories were hard, and they had to live the world that was given to them. And so I try to always create characters who have to navigate tough, who have to have a hint, but not the actual answer, and who are flawed. Because most importantly, we have to recognize that heroes who aren't flawed, that good people who aren't flawed aren't trying.
Yeah.
We're going to make mistakes. And the heroic part isn't the perfection, it's what you do when perfection fails. And I think for Black women in particular, we've got to give ourselves permission. It's not that we will never make mistakes, is what do we do the next moment, the next day, the next opportunity? And so I get to use fiction and nonfiction to really explore that and to use my own foibles, shaped by creative writing, but to give myself that space. So for you, look, it may not be a diary that you write. It may be that you have, a character named Ricky And Ricky does these things and has to explore these questions and gets the answers wrong, because sometimes the wrong answer tells you as much as the right answer does.
No, if you hear Ricky, that's me.
Right.
My dad always told me sometimes like just do as many jobs as you possibly can, because like doing the wrong job will lead you to the right job. And like I really want to like hone into that of like trying, like I have this motto. I do a motto every year to like ground myself, and
Right.
a word of the year. So my word of the year is momentum.
Okay.
And my motto is try something is better than doing nothing. So just try it, like just go for it, and just like see where I can be if I go this route, and like don't be like worried about like the what ifs of life. Just like go for it and don't sit still of just like waiting for something to happen. Because I saw that you described yourself as a professional worrier, and I was like, wow, I didn't know they were hiring. I feel like I would be great at that. But how do you move from worry into action without like letting it consume you? Asking for a friend, that friend being me.
So I love language, and I so love the fact that you pick a word of the year.
Mm.
Worry has two meanings. There's the worry where our brain is occupied with trying to project what's going to happen and running scenarios about what can be, what can go wrong.
Yeah.
But worry is also about being a troublemaker. I'm going to worry the devil out of you, meaning I'm going to push and I'm going to prod and I'm going to force and I'm going to not stop because I think something has to be fixed. And so when I say a professional worrier, I scenario plan. I think about what could happen. Part of my responsibility on that part of worry is to not get so mired in the what ifs that I forget the what for. And that means, yes, we want a scenario plan. We want to, speculate, but why? What is it that we're going to get from it? And there's a little bit of Stoic philosophy in there where Stoicism would tell you not to worry at all, not to imagine future troubles. I can't do that.
Yeah.
That part I suck at.
Please.
But what I can do is imagine future troubles and then game out what I would do. But the core of it is to figure out why that is consuming me, why that is niggling at the back of my mind, why that's a scenario I'm running. And then the other part of worry, the part that is the action piece, because I see worry as both the consumptive, but the active. The active piece is, okay, what am I going to do about it? Because often whatever it is I'm worried about has a solution. And my job is to figure out who's making it hard for that solution to be made manifest, whether that's me or someone else. And in my larger work, what systems are in place that make it hard. And then my job is to worry the devil out of those people, out of that system. And so I'm a professional worrier because I'm going to game plan and scenario plan and figure out what's wrong. And then I'm going to do something about it. I think to your question, it's too many of us get stuck on the bridge.
Yeah.
Too many of us stay in the worry space where it's only about what's wrong. And we don't recognize that part of worry is how we get to what's right.
No, I like resonate with that, because I feel like you're speaking to like something that's deeply rooted in me right now, and the worries that I've been feeling, and just this idea of just like going and like just moving through it and acting through it and not being trapped in this like spiral, this cycle, like rumination and stuff. So thank you. I had to sit with that for a second. Um, Yeah, you are giving very grounded energy right now, and I am curious, like how, like what rituals do you do to like keep you grounded and keep you like going?
So I have this, one of my nonfiction books, my first one is called Lead from the Outside.
Mhm.
And I open it, the first chapter is about fear. The next chapter is about ambition. Third chapter is about money.
Oh, wrote in that order.
Yeah, because look, usually don't, I mean, to your dad's point about trying a lot of jobs, we usually stick with something, even if it's bad for us, because we're afraid of it. We're afraid that ambition is wrong for us or we can't afford it. And so my first ritual is that I make myself understand why I'm worried, why I'm concerned, what's holding me back. When you force yourself to do that confrontation, you got to be gentle with yourself a little bit. You got to be honest. And is it that I'm worried about them laughing at me? What's my risk assessment?
Mhm.
But you got to do that, because part of what holds us hostage is not the problem, it's refusing to confront it. And so my first ritual is that I don't let myself just sit and wallow. I have to figure out what what is it that worries me? What is it that's holding me back? Is it fear? Is it ambition? Is it money? Is almost every decision we do or don't make comes down to one of those three.
Yeah.
The second is that, and I talk about this in the book, I use a process that was developed by Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm,
So
I'm with you.
you're like, I'm with you, but I'm not sure I want to go too much further.
I'm like,
Okay.
maybe not. Okay.
So he said that there are 4 quadrants. There are things that are important and urgent, things that are important but not urgent, things that are urgent but not important, and things that are neither urgent nor important. The things that change the world happen in the important and urgent places, and that's the work that we are called to do. The way we get that work done is by going to the important place that isn't urgent, because that's where we can think, we can ruminate, we can be worriers and worriers. The things that are urgent but not important are when people get on our nerves. It's the email we don't want to answer, the phone call we didn't need, the text that made no sense, and the person who messed up on their end and is blaming us for it.
Yep.
And we spend way too much time there. And so being intentional about not getting dragged in and mired in that quadrant is important. But then the joy is in the not important and not urgent. That's where Star Trek lives. That's where Doctor Who is. That's where Bridgerton is. That's where books are. When I do not important and not urgent, it is not to say that the things I consume there aren't important or urgent, but it's my respite. It's my place of renewal. And I give myself permission to linger there. When you think that the world matters and that you matter in the world, we've been trained to think that anything we do in that quadrant is a waste of time and is an insult. And I'm here to say it is the place where you get better at moving past the urgent and not important, being like, I'll be back to you, getting to the important but not urgent and saying, I'm going to think about you hard. And then you got the energy to do the work that's important and urgent. And so that's my biggest ritual. And then the third thing is every day I do the spelling bee on New York Times. I do spelling bee, then Wordle, and then betweenal. And so that helps me kind of ease into my day and play with words. So those are my 3 things.
Beautiful. Love those 3 things. And I'm on Wordle right now, trying to figure out the last word, but I love seeing life in this like quadrant thing. Cause like my next question was like, how do you just like decide what deserves your energy and attention at that moment? Because so many times people are like, no, this is important. Like people will tell you what's important before you get a chance to decide what's important for yourself. And I can imagine you're surrounded by lots of noise and opinions and like, no, Stacey, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. So like, where do you have this like, how do you get this level of discernment where you're deciding you're the one who's choosing?
I use that. I use that filter. Is this urgent because people want it done, or is it important because it needs to be done, or is it urgent and important because if I don't do it, something bad can happen that matters? And part of it is giving ourselves permission to do that filter, but it's also not to react. Like I have a character, Avery Keene, and part of her job is to figure out where in that quadrant she sits. And so I try to practice what I preach. I try to spend time when something comes across my transom. I look at it. I'm like, okay, is this urgent or important? That's why they have the little stars on Gmail. So I'm like, okay, this could be important. It is not urgent. And it's urgent because if I've got a text and an email, probably should pay attention. But ultimately, will people's lives be made better or worse if I don't act? That's really got to be the filter that we use, because if I can make your life better, or if I can stop someone from harming, those to me are the things that really drive the important and the urgent.
I love that. For people who are listening, we have our main demographic is Black women who feel overwhelmed and stressed and are just looking for some type of like mental relief and like support and somehow. What advice would you give them for like really just like using their creativity to like connect and like restore themselves?
So I mentioned my character, Avery Keene. I started writing romance and then I moved over to legal thrillers. And my character, Avery, she's in 3 of my novels, my Justice series. And Avery's sort of core raison d'etre is that she's someone who has responsibility with no authority. And Black women, that is where we live. We've built entire communities there. We got subdivisions. Like a lot of our lives are spent in that place where we know we have responsibility because we care. But we don't have the authority that we need to make people do what we want them to do. And then we get overwhelmed because we think we haven't done enough.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I write those novels, it is part of my creative process to be able to get out the things that I think need to be done in this world and to use this avatar of Avery as one of the ways I can grapple with it. The novels that I write, it's the Justice series. So While Justice Sleeps, Rogue Justice, Coded Justice, they deal with these heady and important political and policy topics. So biogenetics and the electric grid and AI. But I also deal with secondary topics. I talk about, what happens when the system fails you? What happens when the person you love doesn't love you the way they should? What occurs when you're trying to do right, but you're a little greedy and it goes wrong? And for Black women who need to use creativity, it's giving ourselves permission to tell these stories. It can be a song. It can be a poem. It can be a bad song. It can be a terrible poem. It can be a short story. It can be a novella. But creative writing and creativity writ large, whether if you're an artist and you're a visual artist, it's giving ourselves also permission to release this. So I picked the medium that works for me, but we all have creative capacity. And when we pour our energy and our worry into our creativity, we're freeing up space. And I think that's the place where we have to give ourselves permission to download, but also give people permission to see the result of that download. It doesn't have to be awesome.
Yeah.
It just has to be you, and it has to be true.
No, it has to be honestly just real. Like just it's like letting go of expectations and responsibility of just like who are you when it's all stripped away? Who are you when like you're just like living for yourself? And I truly appreciate that about you and like how you show up for so many people. And I see you showing up for yourself in that way. And I'm just beyond grateful for you in this time and just learning from you in real time. I'm like actively pinching myself throughout this conversation. I'm like, Rachel, what is happening? But no, so
You're too kind. You really are.
well, I mean it truly.
I've said this before. Like I've met me. I'm not overly impressed, so
Mhm.
I appreciate it when somebody is. But here's the thing: you have this podcast because you believe that there are other women who need a safe space.
Yeah.
You are using your ability to connect people, to give voice to their pain. Like that's what this is. It is a creative decision to do what you're doing. You decided to use your voice and your command of Riverside to give people a place to come.
Yeah.
And you giggle, and we diminish it sometimes, but I mean, I started out writing romance novels, and the number of people when I got ready to run for governor who said, "Oh my God, but she wrote romance novels." I'm like, "Yes, I did." Because romance novels are read by more women read romance more than any other genre. And what I want to do is connect to a community in need of stories and ambition and a way to navigate fear. Then yes, I'm going to write romance. And I'm going to write about love. I'm going to write about something I haven't been too great at accomplishing. I've thought about it a lot. I'm still waiting for somebody to find my guy and send him my way because apparently he's not going to just knock on the door.
I wish.
Seriously. And maybe that's our next project. But I write romance because there is nothing more straightforward and complicated than love. And I mean, romance novels, just think about their very nature. You know, when you open the book, how it's going to end. The creativity is making someone care enough to stay with the story and giving them enough information and enough sense of self that they are rooting for people that they will never meet because those people only exist in your mind. And in that process, whether it is a painting or a story or a play or a podcast, when you give people permission to dream with you, those are moments that they aren't mired in sadness and defeat. And that, to me, that ability, that privilege is something I hold to and just hold sacred.
Yeah. Wow. No, I couldn't agree more. Like, I couldn't be in a space without this imagination as like a way of like true mental freedom and escapism of just like, there's so much more beyond this. So thank you for that. I'm literally going to listen back to this podcast to like literally right after this and like re-download it in my head and like start practicing it because you're speaking so much to my heart. And I've never been more popular in my life than today because everyone's like, oh my God, tell Stacey, tell Stacey I say hi. My mom has like been like, Rachel, tell Stacey how much I care about her. And so I just like,
What's your mom's name?
her name is Carla Keener.
Hi, Miss Keener. This is Stacey. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm
Call you Miss Carla, but I don't know you well enough yet.
no, she used to be like, call me Carla. No. Now I'm going to be the favorite daughter. So thank you so much. I get to tell my sisters that. I feel so honored. But Stacey, I wish I could come through the screen and hug you. I know the technology is invented for that point, but thank you so much for.
Star Trek is working on it.
I mean, how you do it?
It's like this. Look.
I never can master it, but maybe.
Okay, so put your pinky and your ring finger together.
Okay.
And then, now move it into there. You see, there you go.
Oh, for those listening, I'm doing it. But yeah, no, truly. See, you learn so many things. You're already changing my life. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining me today. I cannot thank you enough. If there's anything our audience can support you with or find you on, or I mean, you're Stacey Abrams, but like any way they can support you, please.
So I appreciate you lifting up. First of all, thank you for the invitation. And I'm so glad you talk about my books. So I love writing, and I've run into people who say, "Oh, you write novels?" I'm like, "You hadn't heard?" They were like, "Well, I saw a book with your name on it, but I didn't think it was you." Yes, it's me. I've published 17 books.
Oh my.
So if you like reading, if you like romance, you can find me as Selena Montgomery or Stacey Abrams. If you like legal thrillers, there's the Justice series with Avery Keene. The most recent one is Coded Justice. If you're afraid of AI, I don't quite solve that problem, but I tell you how to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got kids, I've got 3 children's books in the Stacey series. And then I write nonfiction. I write about leadership and how to make a way out of no way, called Lead from the Outside. And if you care about politics but want to understand democracy better, I've got a book called Our Time Is Now. So no matter what your interest is, I got a book for you. So go to StaceyAbrams.com and learn all about it. And you can find me on Substack at Assembly Notes. And you can find me on my podcast, which is not as awesome as this one, but it's really close. And it's called Assembly Required.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you all for joining us for a very special episode of The Unfolding, presented by the Loveland Foundation. At the Loveland Foundation, we are committed to showing up for communities of color in unique and powerful ways, with a particular focus on Black women and girls. Our resources and initiatives are collaborative, and they prioritize opportunity, access, validation, and healing. Since our founding, the Therapy Fund has provided financial support for therapy to over 13,000 Black women, girls, and non-binary individuals across the country. This year, our goal is to provide free therapy to at least 6,000 more. If you'd like to join us and invest in generational change, visit our website at thelovelandfoundation.org for ways to give. To stay updated on new episodes and any future programming, follow us on Instagram and Meta, or check out our website at thelovelandfoundation.org.